The Eerie Case of the Watcher. Introduction. I am the Watcher. I have been put in charge of watching you. These chilling words arrived in a letter, sent anonymously to a seemingly idyllic suburban home in Westfield, New Jersey. For the family who had just purchased their dream home, the message marked the beginning of a nightmare. What should have been a joyful new chapter in their lives quickly unraveled into a tale of paranoia, fear, and unanswered questions as more letters followed, each one more sinister than the last. The Watcher's identity remains a mystery. Was it a disturbed neighbor with a grudge? A malicious prankster exploiting the family's vulnerability? Or something darker? A shadowy figure with motives beyond comprehension? The letters, laced with ominous undertones and specific references to the family and their home, turned what should have been a haven into a source of terror. In this episode, we delve into the eerie case of the Watcher, a story filled with cryptic messages, unsettling clues, and an enduring mystery that captivated and terrified the nation. What secrets lie within the walls of 657 Boulevard? And why did this family become the target of such a sinister obsession? As we unravel the layers of this haunting case, we confront the unnerving possibility that some Watchers are closer than we think. Background story. The story of the Watcher began in the summer of 2014 in the quiet, affluent town of Westfield, New Jersey. Derek and Maria Broaddus, a successful couple with 3 young children, purchased a stunning 6-bedroom house at 657 Boulevard, hoping it would be the perfect home for their growing family. Built in 1905 and valued at $1.3 million, the house was situated in a picturesque neighborhood, offering a large, charming space for the family to settle in. Soon after purchasing the home, the Broadduses began planning renovations. But just days after closing the deal, they received a strange letter addressed to the new owner. The letter, signed The Watcher, welcomed them to the neighborhood but quickly grew disturbing. The writer claimed to have been assigned to monitor the house and mentioned specific details about it and the Broaddus children, whom they referred to as young blood. The Watcher hinted at a long-standing family tradition of observing the house, saying their grandfather had done so in the 1920s, their father in the 1960s, and now it was their turn. Shocked and disturbed, Derek and Maria contacted the Westfield police, and Detective Leonard Lugo was assigned to the case. Despite efforts to keep the matter quiet, another letter arrived, this time even more specific. The Watcher referenced the ongoing renovations and the children's ages and nicknames, further deepening the sense of invasion and fear. The tone became more hostile, accusing the Broadduses of destroying the house's legacy. As the investigation unfolded, the Broadduses discovered that 657 Boulevard had always been a subject of local fascination. Its former owners included prominent families, and while there had been no prior harassment, the house's long history seemed to fuel the Watcher's obsession. The letters continued to arrive, each one growing more threatening, and the Broadduses began to suspect that the Watcher might be one of their new neighbors, though they had no concrete evidence to support the theory. The Broadduses, once excited to join a welcoming community, became increasingly paranoid. Every neighbor seemed a potential suspect, and their peaceful neighborhood transformed into a place of anxiety. The letters referenced areas of the property visible only from specific angles, suggesting the Watcher lived close by. Despite their efforts, including installing security cameras and considering private investigators, the letters kept coming, each more unnerving than the last. As their sense of security vanished, the Broadduses were left to ponder the motives of the Watcher. Was it someone obsessed with the house's history? Or was there a darker reason behind the letters? The case remains unsolved, and the mystery of the Watcher continues to haunt the Broadduses, leaving them trapped in a cycle of fear and uncertainty. The Watcher's chilling messages have left a lasting legacy, not only for the Broaddus family but also for the community of Westfield. The mystery remains a stark reminder of how an ordinary suburban neighborhood can harbor terrifying secrets, and how far someone might go to preserve an unhealthy obsession with a place and its past. The incident, the eerie case of the Watcher. The disturbing events at 657 Boulevard began in the summer of 2014, when Derek and Maria Broaddus, an average suburban couple, purchased their dream home in Westfield, New Jersey. The 6-bedroom, 3.5-bathroom property seemed perfect for their growing family. However, just days after the closing, they received an anonymous letter that would turn their lives into a nightmare. The first letter, addressed to the new owner, seemed like a harmless welcome at first, but quickly took a dark turn. The author, identifying themselves as the Watcher, claimed to have been assigned to observe the house for decades. They mentioned the family's children in a disturbing way, referring to them as young blood and asking, "Do you need to fill the house with the young blood I requested? Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me." The letter was chilling and personal, making it clear that this was not a prank. As the Broadduses read on, the Watcher's fixation on the house and the family deepened. The second letter arrived shortly after, referencing specific details of the house's renovations and the children's names. The writer described the house as crying for the past and accused the Broadduses of disrespecting its legacy. They ominously mentioned the house's walls and questioned whether the children had discovered what is in the walls yet. Derek and Maria immediately contacted the Westfield Police Department. Detective Leonard Lugo agreed that the letters were disturbing but found no leads. The letters contained no fingerprints, and the postmark was from a nearby postal center. The family reached out to the previous owners, the Woods family, who had received one letter shortly before selling but had dismissed it as a prank. However, the Broadduses' experience grew far worse as the letters continued, intensifying in their eerie tone. In the weeks that followed, the Broadduses grew increasingly paranoid. They installed security cameras and consulted private investigators, but the letters kept arriving. The Watcher appeared to know intimate details about their family's movements, referencing times when the children were outside or contractors were working on the property. "Who has the bedrooms facing the street? I'll know as soon as you move in," one letter ominously stated. The Broadduses' sense of safety crumbled. They began suspecting that one of their neighbors could be the Watcher, as the letters often contained information that only someone close by could know. The paranoia deepened as the family observed strange behaviors in the neighborhood, such as a neighbor sitting in a lawn chair and staring at the house for long periods. During a neighborhood barbecue, Maria overheard a conversation where a nearby family casually referenced the Broaddus children, which further heightened their fears. Despite their efforts, the family never discovered the identity of the Watcher. The Broadduses turned to a former FBI agent, Robert Lenehan, for help. He suggested that the letters were sophisticated, indicating the author was likely older, obsessive, and potentially dangerous. The investigation led nowhere, and the family found themselves isolated and fearful in their own home. Unable to move into 657 Boulevard, the Broadduses tried to sell the house, but the dark history of the letters made it an impossible sale. Attempts to lease the property also failed, with potential tenants backing out when they learned of the conditions. Public speculation mounted, with some suggesting the family had fabricated the story for attention or financial gain, adding stress to an already traumatic situation. Meanwhile, the psychological toll on the Broaddus family was severe. Maria became withdrawn and anxious, haunted by the fear for her children's safety. Derek, the primary breadwinner, was crushed by the financial burden of the house, and the strain affected their marriage. The children, though shielded from the full extent of the letters, were impacted by the pervasive fear that gripped their lives. The Watcher's letters continued, becoming sporadic but just as unsettling. One letter mocked their attempts to sell the house, claiming, "The house is crying for you to move in. It is waiting for you. Welcome to my game." The Broaddus' dream home had turned into an emotional and financial nightmare. Despite their best efforts, they were unable to unmask the Watcher or escape the haunting presence that lingered over 657 Boulevard. The case of the Watcher remains one of the most bizarre and unsettling modern mysteries. No one has ever identified the person behind the letters, and the Broaddus family remains haunted by the question: was it a cruel prank or something far more sinister? The Watcher's identity and their motive remain an enigma, leaving the Broadduses and the world to wonder who was behind the chilling campaign of harassment. The investigation, the search for the Watcher. The investigation into the unsettling letters sent by the Watcher to the Broaddus family was both complex and deeply chilling. The letters transformed the family's dream home at 657 Boulevard into a source of terror, and despite law enforcement and private investigators working tirelessly, the truth behind the sender remained elusive. Initial police involvement. Upon receiving the first letter, the Broadduses contacted the Westfield Police Department. Detective Leonard Lugo was assigned to the case, focusing initially on any potential threats to the family's safety. Efforts to analyze the letters for fingerprints and DNA traces yielded no conclusive results. The letters suggested the sender was familiar with the property, mentioning the children and renovations, but it was unclear if the observations were made in person or via secondary sources. Police interviewed neighbors about any suspicious activity, but only vague reports, such as a man seen staring at the house, surfaced, offering no solid leads. Reviewing the property's history. Investigators examined the house's history, noting that 657 Boulevard had been home to several prominent families, including the Woodses, who sold the house to the Broadduses. The Woodses admitted receiving one letter from the Watcher but dismissed it as a prank. This raised the possibility that the Watcher had an obsession with the house itself, potentially tied to previous residents or neighbors. Neighborhood probe. The investigation turned to the neighborhood itself. Westfield was a close-knit community, but the anonymity of the letters suggested the sender was someone who could blend in. A key lead involved analyzing sightlines to the property. The Watcher referenced specific details about the house, implying the sender had a clear view of it from a nearby location. Detective Lugo mapped out the surrounding area, but no definitive suspects emerged. Forensic linguistics and behavioral analysis. As the investigation progressed, the Broadduses turned to more specialized methods. A forensic linguist analyzed the letters and identified a pattern that suggested the sender was older, with a formal tone and a possible obsession with tradition. The linguistic analysis also pointed to psychological issues, with the letters oscillating between reverence for the house and hostility toward its occupants. Former FBI profiler Robert Lenahan created a behavioral profile, suggesting the Watcher might feel displaced by the Broadduses' presence, referencing young blood and the house's past as evidence of resentment. Surveillance and private investigators. The Broadduses hired a private investigator to conduct surveillance around 657 Boulevard. One promising lead involved a car idling near the house. The vehicle's license plate was traced to a woman living in a nearby town, but further investigation revealed no direct link between her boyfriend and the letters. The DNA clue. A breakthrough came when DNA testing on one envelope suggested that the sender was female, shifting the focus of the investigation. Police re-interviewed female residents near the property, but no concrete evidence surfaced. Community speculation and media scrutiny. As news of the case spread, it became a media sensation. The public divided between sympathy for the Broadduses and skepticism. Some speculated that the letters might be a hoax or an attempt to back out of an unaffordable house. The police and private investigators found no evidence to support these claims, but the family's emotional toll painted a picture of genuine terror. The stalemate. Despite exhaustive efforts, the investigation reached a dead end. The Watcher's identity remained a mystery, and no further evidence emerged. The Broadduses, unable to feel safe, considered selling the property at a loss. The case remains one of the most perplexing mysteries of modern times, raising questions about human behavior, community dynamics, and the psychological toll of living under constant surveillance. Exploring possible internal connections. One avenue of investigation explored the possibility that the Watcher might have been connected to the Broaddus family's own social or professional circles. Derek's high-profile job in Manhattan and Maria's deep roots in Westfield could have made them targets of jealousy or resentment. However, no evidence pointed to anyone within their social circle. Revisiting neighbors with renewed scrutiny. Detectives continued to focus on the neighborhood. One neighbor's home, occupied by a reclusive family with an adult child exhibiting erratic behavior, became a point of interest. While this individual had an intense interest in local real estate, no connection to the letters was proven. Another lead involved an elderly couple who might have resented the Broadduses for their renovations, but again, no evidence was found linking them to the letters. Advanced forensic techniques. The investigation expanded to include advanced forensic techniques. The FBI helped analyze the letters, focusing on the penmanship and punctuation, which appeared deliberately misleading. A handwriting expert noted inconsistencies that hinted the sender might be attempting to disguise their writing style. Microanalysis of the envelopes, including residue and dirt particles, offered no new evidence. Hypnotic regression. Desperate, the Broadduses turned to hypnosis to uncover any buried memories. Maria recalled a stranger complimenting her on the house at a community event, sparking a suspicion that this person might have been the Watcher. However, no further identification was made. Community backlash. As the investigation continued, it strained relationships in Westfield. Neighbors, once sympathetic, grew resentful of the publicity surrounding the case. Some even accused the Broadduses of fabricating the letters for personal gain, further isolating the family. Experimental tactics. In an attempt to lure the Watcher into revealing themselves, the Broadduses considered staging a public move-in. Security teams were stationed around the house to intercept anyone approaching. The tactic, however, yielded no results, and the Watcher remained silent. The Internet's role. As the case gained national attention, online forums and social media became hotbeds for speculation. Amateur sleuths analyzed the letters for hidden meanings, suggesting wild theories, such as a secretive cult or a disgruntled former bidder. Though these theories were often far-fetched, they showed the public's fascination with the case. The Broadduses monitored the discussions, hoping to uncover a helpful clue. In the end, despite every effort, the Watcher's identity and motives remain unknown, leaving the Broaddus family with a chilling mystery that continues to haunt them. Theories and speculations. The case of the Watcher has captivated the public with its chilling mystery and unanswered questions. Despite exhaustive investigations, the identity and motives of the sender remain elusive, leading to numerous theories about who the Watcher might be. The angry neighbor theory. One of the most discussed theories is that the Watcher was an angry neighbor upset by the Broaddus family's renovations to 657 Boulevard. The letters referenced the construction and expressed disdain for the disruptions caused. Investigators questioned nearby homeowners, especially those with past grievances, but no concrete evidence connected any of them to the letters. The real estate rival theory. Another possibility is that the Watcher was a rival bidder who lost out on the house. The Broadduses outbid several parties, and the timing of the letters shortly after the purchase suggested a personal connection to the property. Investigators explored this avenue by looking into the backgrounds of the unsuccessful bidders, but no definitive suspect emerged. The psychological fixation theory. Some experts believe the Watcher may suffer from a psychological disorder, such as obsessive-compulsive tendencies or paranoia. The letters reveal an almost reverent attachment to the house, suggesting an unhealthy fixation. The Watcher's obsession with the house's history and their references to young blood pointed to someone possibly nostalgic for a past era. This theory, while compelling, did little to narrow down the suspect pool. The prank or hoax theory. As the case gained national attention, some skeptics questioned whether the letters were part of an elaborate prank. However, the detailed knowledge of 657 Boulevard's history and the Broaddus family's genuine distress made this theory less convincing. The complexity of the letters and the financial strain on the family argued against the idea of a hoax. Conclusion: the unsolved mystery of the Watcher. The case of the Watcher has haunted the Broaddus family and the Westfield community for years. What began as a dream home purchase for Derek and Maria Broaddus quickly escalated into a nightmare due to the Eerie letters. Despite intense investigation, forensic analysis, and expert opinions, the Watcher remains unidentified. Theories abound, with suggestions ranging from an angry neighbor to a mentally unstable individual with an obsession with the house. Psychological profiles depict the Watcher as someone driven by obsession or resentment, but none of these theories fully explain the haunting nature of the letters. The identity and motive of the sender remain a mystery. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the case is the unanswered question: why did the Watcher target the Broaddus family? Was it personal, or were they simply an easy target for an anonymous tormentor? The silence surrounding these questions only heightens the sense of unease. The mystery of the Watcher continues to resonate with the public, inspiring true crime enthusiasts and theories that keep the case alive in popular culture. The unresolved nature of the case speaks to our fascination with the unknown and the uncomfortable truth that some mysteries may never be solved. The case serves as a reminder that not all questions can be answered, and sometimes, the unknown will remain just that. As we reflect on this haunting tale, we are reminded that the pursuit of meaning in the unknown is part of our nature. The Watcher's legacy remains a testament to the unsettling power of unanswered questions. While the mystery may never be solved, it will continue to inspire future generations to search for answers in the dark corners of our world. In the end, the question remains, how long can a mystery persist before it becomes more than just a case? It becomes a part of us? The Watcher case will remain with us, unresolved, keeping us searching for answers in a world full of questions.